Hello. Hey Union Chapel, how you doing? Great to see everybody. Well, welcome. I'm Jonathan Green from earMUSIC. Just a quick introduction to say, tonight we are here to paint the Alice Cooper Band that took a short career break in 1974 and are back 51 years later to celebrate their new album, The Revenge of Alice Cooper. We're going to play you it in full, and then I'll be back straight after. Okay, have fun.
I think I'll hide inside your bed sheets, coiled into the folds of white. I'll just watch you while you're sleeping, darling, and decide if I should bite. So dangerous to touch. You're just a slave to temptation, baby. Perhaps you want me much too much. I think I'll hide inside your bed sheets, coiled into the folds so white. Just watch you while you're sleeping, baby, and decide if I should bite. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Into my eyes, I ain't domesticated, I'm not that civilized. I'm crawling up your leg now, baby, to whisper in your ear a little poison lie now, baby. You've got nothing to fear. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I love your touch now, baby. I love to feel your skin. I wanna slide inside and hide before I do you in. all the damn ones, this is the life we choose. There's no redemption and nothing left to lose. If you see us coming, you won't have time to pray. When you hear the motors gunning, just get out of our way. Yeah, running with the wild ones. Yeah, baby, we're the wild ones. Wild ones. Wild ones. Wild ones. Can you feel it? Rolling thunder. Lose your mind and drag you under. Can you see it? Getting higher. 'Cause it's burning like a fire. It's all right with me. New York City round 8:45. Some money in my pocket and I'm relatively fine because I look real good. I walk in Hollywood, so I go motivating to a bougie neighborhood where all the talent there is posing and they're all blowing nosing and supposing that's all right with me. But things get cooking and she's so good looking that I sacrifice morality. And I'm gonna be up all night. I'll be burning bright till the morning light. Yeah, I can keep it up all night. And now my brain pan is steaming and I'm simmering red. A belly full of demons and a pounding in my head. And yet I don't look back. Yeah, I get her in the sack, but I'm out of conversation and I'm starting to lose track. And she says, "Sonny, honey, don't forget my money. You pay for this ability." And I said, "It's no exaggeration. I'm an overnight sensation. Girl, you should be paying me, 'cause I can keep it up all night. You better treat me right until the morning light. I can keep it up all night." So word gets round and my legend starts to grow, 'cause all over it's okay with me. I love these walls and lonely halls. It's where I'm supposed to be. But when I'm lying awake at night, oh, reeling from my meds, there's something flying around my face, buzzing around my head. Kill the flies. Everybody's so kind to me. They feed me every day and walk me round these lovely grounds. It's home to me this way. But when I'm standing in a trance, staring at the clear blue sky, I know that they're all watching me, just waiting for me to die. Flies! These damn flies! I hate these flies! Kill the flies!
one thinks I'm her prey, invites me back into her lair, an unsuspecting victim there. She doesn't really understand that I'm her final one-night stand. She'll get a taste of her medicine, a fatal taste of her own medicine, and I'll kiss her lips and walk away. Hey, hey, hey. Such a lovely day. Good morning, Mrs. Calabash. Lovely day. Gathering of eagles, they flew alone. Hunters are for killing. Wrecking crews out, winner take all. A cool sound from hell is chilling. Young and innocent children of dust, don't cry, it's only thunder. The angry silence of mice and men. Here I am, a stranger. Blood on the sun. Blood on the sun. Blood on the sun. Johnny got his gun. Killer is loose, the rising sun is burning. Soldiers of fortune, from dusk till dawn. War of the worlds, fate's turning. Flying tigers, 12 o'clock high, 1 minute to 0. All the young men between heaven and hell, a company of heroes. Blood on the sun. Blood on the sun. Blood on the sun. The hour of
I learned to play it in my mom's garage. I played it night and day, and the years just flew away. And I'm still playing in that damn garage. But I never gave up, took a rip from my bong, and the world passed me by, and I wrote another song about the crap that gets in the way of your dreams. Well, that's just how it seems. You work all your life, but you never succeed, and you don't get what you need. And ain't it a crime when you don't have a dime to show? Oh, oh, oh. And now I'm 65, and yeah, I'm still alive, but I ain't seen my wife in quite a while. She may be dead upstairs, or maybe she just don't care about my music or my laundry pile. Was I wasting my life? Were they right all along? Should I bury my wife, or just write another song about the crap that gets in the way of your dreams? Well, that's just how it seems. You work all your life, but you never succeed, and you don't get what you need. And ain't it a crime when you don't have a dime to show? Oh, oh, oh. Sunset Strip. You strut your junk around like you're hot shit. Why bands like you's a mystery. I wish the hell you'd get off my TV. You want more when you've had too much, never knowing when enough's enough. You can't stop 'cause you're such a lush, and you cry 'cause you got it rough. Cry 'cause you like it rough. Another famous face, idol worship for the human race. Your life's been nothing but a total waste, 'cause you're just another famous face. You're just another famous face. Your trendy look seems so out of place. You serve no purpose, you ain't got no taste, 'cause you're just another famous face. Just another famous face. Just another famous face. Just another famous face, 'cause you're just another famous.
The almighty dollar makes you walk a little taller. It's a power that shoots you right to the top, when it's flowing like a flood, and we're all drowning in the mud. That river keeps rolling and it can't be stopped, no. We work and work and work all day, working all our lives away. Money doesn't talk, it screams. Money's at the root of all our dreams. It's a devil at the door, the monster in green. Money doesn't talk. $1,000,000 suite. Well, you can sit on your throne just like a king. You want power, you want gold, you want some people to control. To be a master of puppets where you pull our strings. We work and work and work all day. We're working all our lives away. Money doesn't talk, it screams. Money's at the root of all our dreams. It's the devil at the door, the monster in green. Money doesn't talk, it screams, yeah. I'm a rebel, I'm too much. I got a scotch and soda, that's my crutch. A pearl stiletto and a bag of weed. I'm east of Eden and a real bad seed. I love to rock, but I need to roll. And ain't no shot that I won't grow old. I flash my Casanova smile. They give an inch and then I take a mile. I said, hi-de-hi, ho-de hey. I love to live in a dangerous dream, and I'll probably die that way. I got no home, but I don't care. I got snakeskin boots and long blonde hair. A chip on my shoulder and a stolen guitar. Put it all together and I'm a star. I'm high all night and I sleep all day. I smoke and drink all my cares away. I got no reason and I got no plans, no expectations of the promised land. I said, hi-de-hi, ho-de hey. I love to live in a dangerous dream, and I'm probably gonna die that way. Hey, hey. Materialized from out of the stars, moving with such hypnotic grace, a heavenly body and a hell of a face. She wrapped her arms around me, 1, 2, 3, bit me on the lip and she felt free to taste my blood and broke my brain. I was so in love, I didn't feel no pain. I'd follow her back to any place, no matter how deep in outer space. I got the intergalactic vagabond blues. I got cosmic debris in my shoes. I'll never forget her gift from above, and I don't regret that alien love. Me, said she loved my earthly style, then licked my skin with a hungry smile. Yeah, she stole my heart, 1, 2, 3, and other parts of my anatomy. I got the intergalactic vagabond blues. I got cosmic debris in my shoes. I don't regret the state I'm in, and I pray someday she comes back again. I got the intergalactic vagabond blues. I got nowhere to go and nothing to lose. I'll never forget her gift from above, and I don't regret her alien love. Yeah, I got a little gal down in Kalamazoo. I didn't have to teach her nothing, she just knew. We were gonna get married in the month of June, but she changed her calibration, changed her tune. Now I'm into disillusion, don't know what to do. You gotta tell me, pretty baby, what happened to you? You're driving around town in a coupe de ville, drinking pink champagne and popping pills. You're wearing high heel shoes and a new hairdo. Got a poodle on a leash and a mink or two. Yeah, you put me Your rivers went raging by. Your mountains were all way too high. And your oceans so dark and deep. And your nightmares so scary that you couldn't sleep. Those long, lonely nights were a restless ride. And your bedroom became a place to hide. But you touched the hearts of millions of friends. And I know someday we're gonna play together again. I see you on the other side. I feel you on the other side. I'm gonna be with you on the other side. We'll rock and roll the night away. See you there. We'll rock the night away. Now your raging rivers are just gentle streams. And your bedroom a sweet place to dream. Your oceans are always sunny and blue. And your mountains echo with the songs that were singing for you. I'll see you on the other side. Yeah, I feel you on the other side. I'm gonna be with you on the other side. We'll rock and roll the night away. I'll see you on the other side. Yeah, I feel you on the other side. We're all gonna be with you on the other side. And we'll rock and roll the night away. See you there. We'll rock the night away.
Hello, hooray, Union Chapel, how are you doing? We're here to celebrate the revenge of Alice Cooper. We're going to bring everybody on one by one. We need to take some photographs. So what we're going to do, we're going to put them here just for a minute, and then we'll get that out of the way, and then the show can start. So our master of ceremonies is the greatest lyricist of our age, the man behind The Lion King, Evita, and Chess, Tim Rice. I should say that again, perhaps. Our master of ceremonies is the greatest lyricist of our age, the man behind The Lion King, Evita, and Chess, Tim Rice. We're going to put you at that on the left. They call him the 5th member of the Alice Cooper Band. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Ezrin. Yeah. No more Mr. Nice Guy. It's Michael Bruce. They call him Dr. Dreary. It's Dennis Dunaway. He's the band's beating heart. It's Neil Smith. Oh no, it can't be. He's back. It's Alice Cooper.
Hello, hello. Is this how you hold these? Yeah.
Everybody mic drop. Before we start.
Is this on?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm very honored to be here as the straight man. It's a wonderful venue, and I've been an Alice Cooper fan for many, many years. I bought my first Alice Cooper album in 1973, so I might have been 3 or 4 months behind some of you. But I signed it. I bought it on March the 12th, 1973, and I've had the honor of getting the band at last to sign my copy 60-odd years later. A bit frightening. But thank you. I've got to know Alice over the years, been to a lot of his shows, both in America and here. But the greatest honor for me, Alice-wise, was when he played King Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar. And it was in New York a few years ago, and he, genuinely, I can say this, of all the Herods who've played Superstar over the years, he was the best, because he was sinister and funny simultaneously. And that was what was so brilliant. Normally, he's only sinister, but he managed to be very funny as well. And, of course, he can sing. And he nearly stopped the show, which was difficult, as there was a crucifixion due 5 minutes later. But he did well. Anyway, I'm honored to be here asking you guys questions. It's been great to meet the other fellas in the band, and of course Bob, who I've met before. So I've got a lot of questions here from fans and all over the shop, all over several shops. And of course we're talking or we're hoping that this will inspire you all, if you haven't got it already, to get The Revenge of Alice Cooper, which I've got a CD and a vinyl copy already. Right, the question here, the first bandmate question is, how did the first day back at work feel in the studio as a band, making what has turned out to be a great album?
It really, if Mike, okay, go ahead.
It was fantastic after the plane ride. I got over that, but it was great to be back with the guys again and recording again with Bob, and we just had a great time. It's hard to express. It's like, I guess, going to a class reunion, you know, people you hadn't seen in a while, but we had seen each other, but we had a great time.
Great. Dennis, anything to add?
I felt like we were 51 years late.
Right.
But like Michael said, you know, you walk into the studio with Bob Ezrin, and he's got all of the energy and excitement, and then we're all in the same room together. We revert to high school kids again, and we've got a bunch of songs that we're really excited to do, and we had a blast. Great.
Neil, anything?
Well, we've actually been seeing each other for a long time over the decades that we've been since we've recorded a full album. So it was great to finally, you know, we played on a couple of Alice's solo albums, and it's always the same. Like Dennis said, we go in the studio, same stupid sense of humor, same jokes, you know, but over time, they even get stupider, and that's the, you know, that's the true meaning of an artist, to up your game all the time. So no, we've always had a great time together, and that's I think the chemistry that kept us through the Hall of Fame, all the way from 2011 to now. Things just got, you know, it was the right time to do it.
Alice, what do you?
You know, it was like no time had gone by as far as like I felt so natural in the studio with those guys. It was just like really, I think all of us had a hard time not smiling. We were just having such a good time in there, and everybody brought in songs. I mean, everybody's a writer here, so we just put the songs in a big pile and just started working on them, and I think. It's a strange sense of humor when these guys get together, and it shows up in the songs.
Yeah, and some of the songs make one or two quite serious points, but they're basically fun. They're good time songs, but there's a little bit of advice for people in some of them, I think. Often quite strange advice. It's a bit hard to take. But Bob, you were the director.
That's completely accidental. I just lost my voice and just started to cough. So it's somebody here is wearing something that I'm allergic to. Pardon me. It was, for me, it was so much the same as when we first started out together. We have the same frames of reference. We all grew up on television. We all grew up in isolation. They lived in Phoenix, Arizona, which is the major city in America that's the most distant from the next major city. I grew up in Toronto, which is across the border in Canada, and so our cultural references came through the radio and through the things that we saw on television. And when we first got together in 1970, one of the things that was so automatic about it was that everybody's sense of humor seemed to be in about the same place. Yep. We'd all watched the Bowery Boys. We'd all seen the same, horror movies. We were dealing from sort of the same cultural place. And here we are. This is now 55 years after that, and we get back in a room together, and the same tired jokes were told in the studio. The same lousy movies were referenced. It was horrifying. It was actually one of the worst experiences of my life. I can only say. Anyway, no, it was wonderful, and thank you for letting me air that.
You know, the funny thing was we never ever listened to any producer. I don't know why we listened to him. But we didn't listen to Frank Zappa. We didn't listen to anybody. And for some reason, Bob came in. He was as raw as we were, but he believed in us. He saw something he really believed in. And his punishment for not firing us from Jack Richardson sent him there to get rid of us. And he went back to Jack Richardson and said, I know I'm fired, but I signed them. And from then on, it was perfect.
There's a question here from Simon Keane, ticket owner. I don't know whether that means he owns a ticket store or just one ticket, but it says, what does the band consider to be their biggest break of their early years? Was it the formation of the group with the 5 original members, or the signing to Zappa's Straight Records, or was it Bob? What was your lucky break in the very early days? Or was it something else entirely?
I think all the above, but the last element that we needed, because we had a record deal, we had a great manager with Shep Gordon, and we needed a producer that could make some hits for us. We'd recorded 2 albums that we loved, British for You and Easy Action. We loved the albums, but they weren't commercial successes. So, and we were playing big outdoor venues, concerts in the late 60s, and we could get a standing ovation. We didn't have a hit record. We could still play our music, do our show, and get a standing ovation. We just needed that one element, hit record. And so we did our research, and the Guess Who out of Toronto in Canada, Nimbus 9, we set our sights on, letting them know that we were, we had them in their sights, and we wanted to work with them. And eventually, it all worked out, and we all came up, like Alice said, from down here all the way up together, and it was a learning process, and it still is, and that's what's makes it exciting for us, other than having.
I think we can't pass over the Shep Gordon reference too lightly, right? I wasn't there when they all first met, but I can tell you, if it weren't for Shep and his persistence and his brilliance, and it wouldn't have mattered what we'd done. I don't think. We needed that bridge to the world that Shep provided all of us.
Yep.
Well, there's a question here for the chairman, which I think is me, I've just realized. If we provide the script and the band provides the music, would I be willing to produce the Alice Cooper story live in the West End?
Well, I always said if Johnny Depp were a little better looking, he could play me.
That's a certain winner. I'm not really a producer, but I would certainly put money into that one. Now, here's a guy called David Richards, also ticket owner. I've suddenly realized, being rather stupid, that ticket owner just means you've turned up. And thank you for turning up. I thought an awful lot of people here owning ticket companies. David says, how did you balance honoring the band's 1970s shock rock roots with introducing fresh elements that reflect who you are today? Anyone? Dennis?
I think it's just, that's how we write. People were shocked at what we were doing, but we were really basically doing a lot of things that were funny. It's just that we were delivering it with a sinister attitude. And also, we knew that the best way to get kids to want to buy a record is for their parents to tell them not to buy it.
Absolutely.
And it worked.
Okay, Ashley Arnold says, as we age, life pulls us in different directions, but sometimes there's a moment, even a flash, that transports us back. Did you ever feel that sudden knot in your stomach when you were recording the new album, like you were back in those early days, feeling that same wild energy, joy, or even chaos of making music with each other for the first time? Well, I guess you did. You've sort of answered that one. It was like nothing had changed, I guess. And I think the audience probably feel the same. Is that a fair answer? Should I be answering Ashley's
We were
question?
so...
Yeah, it was very much the same.
You're on your own now here.
Right.
Our background was with the British invasion. First you learn Chuck Berry, because that's rock and roll basic. He's the best lyricist of all time. And then when the Beatles and the Stones, and every week another band would show up. you know, there was suddenly The Who, and we went, wow, what's that? Our background, all of us, we still think like that. We still think we'd love to sound like the Yardbirds. We'd love to sound like The Who, but with our twist to it. So honestly, when we get in the studio, it was like, yeah, that's not tough enough. Let's, come on, let's, you know. That's even why we did a Yardbird song.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a Yardbird song on the new album, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But everything changed for us and kicked into overdrive when Freddie and the Dreamers came out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you now.
Theatrics.
Well, talking of British groups, Adam Burns says, do you remember, I'm sure you, actually, maybe you don't, do you remember your first time touring in England, what it was like, the first time you came here to play live? Were you happy with the reception? You have played England, haven't
We
you?
remembered it was, well, like Alice said, you know, we're all such huge fans of the British invasion. And to actually come here, and actually in one of our early press releases, Shep and Alive Enterprises, you know, labeled us the leader of third generation rock. The 50s being Elvis, and the 60s being the Beatles, and then Alice Cooper being 70s, which when you think about it is relatively true. And, you know, we gave Great Britain some great rock and roll in the 50s. They, with steroids, shot it back at us with the British invasion, and we put our sound together with all the influences from all the movies that we love, because we were all, you know, even Bob, his kids, the action movies with James Bond, another English influence on us, and of course all the horror movies, the great horror movies that were American and English. So it was just, it's always made us feel like home here for some crazy reason, and I'm being honest about that, because it's like United States thought that, you know, it was tough for us to break in there. But when we came here, it was like England got it right away. And we, and you know, thank you, England.
Yes.
And
But you still
also,
drive.
How many of you were here and remember when the truck broke down? Anybody?
We decided that, you know, a naked picture of me on a lorry breaking down at Piccadilly Square on a Friday at rush hour. And I said,
It was
okay,
square back
we
then.
do understand we're going to
In
jail.
those days,
We know that. Okay.
Later, it became round and Piccadilly. Yes, so we broke this truck down, and the driver was petrified. He said, "Well, I can't do that. You know, they'll arrest me." And so we promised to take care of his family for the rest of his life while he moldered away in prison. But it seemed to work. And the biggest one was Mary Whitehouse.
Mary Whitehouse.
Oh, wow.
Who?
Right,
exactly.
We loved her. We sent her flowers every day.
She said something in the newspapers about how, you know, evil and horrifying it was that these creatures were allowed to soil the British cultural landscape with their presence, and, you know, they should be thrown out of the country and everything. And then everybody started buying tickets.
Leo Absey, too. Leo Absey jumped right on that bandwagon. And I was sending them cigars, and they could not figure out why we were just going, hey, these are the greatest people in the world. We couldn't buy that kind of, you know. And the problem is, though, is once that happens, then you have to deliver. Yeah. Once you show up and you have all that negative press, then you better deliver. And we were ready for that, so that was good.
Because you had Schools Out round about.
Yeah, we had Schools Out, and the show by that time was pretty much, and we knew what we were doing up there, you know.
Yeah. It says an interesting question here from Neil, not our Neil here, Neil Mathars. Besides Alice's voice, did you bring out any vintage gear or instruments that you used back on that album? Was it the same instruments, apart from wonderful vocals?
Yeah,
Yeah, I used the original $1 Billion Jazz bass that I used on the Killer album and Schools Out and whatnot. with the Rotosound strings, and which with a Herco ghastly green pick for you bass people, which is almost impossible to find these days, but that's what I used back then. That's what I used on this album. And the B15 Ampeg amp, which I used back then, even though I think we pretty much used direct off the pickups, right, Bob?
We did, yeah.
To get a little technical, but I used everything that I used back then.
I brought my original voice.
No, I'm kidding. No, that bass is magic. There's just something about that bass. And really, it's not just the instrument, you know. We could have given that bass to any number of other players, and they would not have sounded like that. You know, that bass and Dennis together create a sound that nobody else.
By the way, I have a photograph of Bob in his office in his recording studio in Nashville holding the bass, and he's attempting to do a kick.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, there's a question here which I'm glad somebody's asked, because when I played the album, I was thrilled to find that Glenn Buxton is featured on one particular track. And Ingo Gerdal has asked, your late brother, comrade, Glenn Buxton was a charismatic rebel and a true original, someone who fully embodied the spirit of rock and roll. He was also a uniquely gifted guitarist. And have you got any special memories of your time with Glenn in the studio out of the road? And it's so great that he's featured on the new album.
Glenn Buxton was the most unique guitar player. Of course, he was the biggest juvenile delinquent at our high school. And our other guitar player at the time, John Tatum, was the other biggest. If there was a fight after school, John was in it. And Glenn was.
Alice, Glenn got John in the band because he could get beer.
Yeah, we didn't get beat up that much. But Glenn, I never heard Glenn ever jam with a blues band. The only jam I ever heard him do was with Syd Barrett.
Wow.
Him and Syd Barrett would sit in the house with two echoplexes going back and forth with each other. And that's who Glenn was in heaven doing that.
And how did you get the wonderful solo onto the album? Was it something, was it difficult to mix it in?
That was a cassette that I had of a wee hours of the morning jam that Glenn and I had. He had this riff, he called it Astute Lobotomy for some reason. And we were just jamming. I kept this cassette in a good place away from magnets all these years, and I told Bob about it. And he said, yeah, we can clean it up and we can use it. And then he added a click track, and we wrote a song right on the spot in the studio.
Yeah. So there was only just what you hear. That was the only bit where it was just Glenn by himself, and then we, for anybody who cares about the technicality of it, we shaped it so that it was in the right tempo, and cleaned up a bunch of the noise and made a loop out of it, and then all of us just started playing in the studio, and the song came so fast. It was really remarkable. It was like Glenn was in the room with us.
It was
So think about it. It was like since 1973, Glenn did the riff, and now he's saying the song came together so fast.
Glenn actually wrote the riff for School's Out, which was one of the great riffs of all time. And you know, the whole album is dedicated to Glenn. The whole album is dedicated to Glenn. He was a best friend to everybody in the band, and yet he was the biggest. Well, he was a Bowery boy. He was W.C. Fields.
Do you know what the Bowery Boys were? You do, okay.
And he would just say things like, if he didn't like somebody, he'd go, "What a Sid this guy is! What a Sid!" You know, nobody would say that.
No. And then we turned it on him with the song "What a Sid."
As in the track on the album.
Yeah, well, and that song totally describes Glenn. That song, "What a Sid," is a total description of him.
Right, that explains. As a backward Brit, I thought this song is a great track. It's called Sid. I thought,
What a Sid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn also had a unique, his father was very much into do-it-yourself electronics and whatnot, and I remember one day we were rehearsing at the Gleason Estate, and his high E string kept popping out of the saddle. So I asked him, I said, Glenn, can I help you get that? And he says, no, I'll take care of it. So the next day, he comes back, and he has this beautiful Gibson 3 pickup, all done in gold and everything. And so what did you do, Glenn? And he pointed out, I couldn't believe it. There was a nail next to the E string. He was kind of a direct guy. He just pounded a nail in. It's done.
So also, that's a good indication. It was the early days, you know, a strap lock. For guitar players know what a strap lock is. So your strap doesn't pop off while you're playing. So you have a thing that locks it to both ends of the guitar. Well, we didn't have that back then. Glenn used a beer bottle cap and drilled a hole in it and put it on there. And
I've got a question here from Timothy Smith. He says, are there any studio habits or rules from the early days that you still stick to? Did you have any habits and rules?
No.
Show up.
It was just...
I think we had to show up, you know. But
show up and don't leave till you're done.
You know, it was so much fun to be in the studio that we couldn't wait to get in the studio. And it was always like that, though. We couldn't wait to get in the studio and just to see what Bob was going to do with our songs and everything like that. And we were a live band. We loved playing live in the studio. So this album, basically, I mean, most of it's cut in the studio with everybody playing, you know.
We always did that. We always played. I always had the band play all together, and you know, within line of sight of each other, as close together as they could possibly be, because the spirit between them, as you can tell, you know, the spirit between them is not the kind of thing you can manufacture. You can't fabricate that, and they so enjoy each other, and they each of them are so impressed with the other's accomplishment during the making of records and stuff. So it's just, that elevates the level of energy in the room and positivity. There was, I can't remember, do you remember us ever having like a big negative meltdown session?
Yes.
Okay, which one?
No, I'm okay.
I remember
you weren't
it
there.
as well.
It was about you, yeah.
After so many years, you know, 5 of you coming back together, including Bob, of course, is there any reason why this should be now? I mean, I'm very glad it is now. We're all very glad it is now. But could you have come back to do this wonderful album 5 years ago or 10 years ago? But is this the right time now?
I think so. I think it was a thing that everything had to merge to one place. I mean, it was always swirling around. It was always swirling around, and I stayed in touch. I always wanted, you know, Dennis, I got something to hear. You play great. Dennis would send me a song. He'd say, hey, what about this? And, you know, and a lot of that, well, Wild Ones was written a long time ago. I mean, really a long time ago. But at that song, I said, I kept remembering, I said, that song is really good. And it was about the movie Wild Ones, you know, with Marlon Brando. I think one of the most unique things on this album, when you get the album, is the most impressive, poetic song that is just, I mean, so important, is Blood on the Sun. It's all movie titles.
No, but seriously. So when we first got this is true. When Alice and I first got the lyric, we were listening to this song, and we didn't realize at first, because Dennis didn't say anything. He just sent us the song with this lyric, and we started playing around with it, thinking, well, what if we said that? And then we went, wait a minute. Every single word here comes from a movie title. Can I swear? How the fuck did he figure that out? That he managed to go through, he did it through TV Guide. He got a TV guide and combed it for movie titles and put together this amazing lyric, which actually reads like an anti-war song. If you listen to it, I thought it was absolute genius.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Did I say that right, Den?
Thank you, Bob. Yes, that's true. But TV Guides, because Glenn Buxton collected them.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It's
all
interesting because
connected up.
I got the Wild One influences immediately. I do remember that film from the dim and distant past, and it crops up occasionally on old movies here. But I didn't get all those film references in the Sun song, which is a great song, but I have to go back and listen to it again, which I would have done anyway, of course, but just see how many I can spot.
A gathering of eagles, they flew alone. What was it?
Gathering
The eagles, they flew alone.
Hunters are for killing.
For killing.
The wrecking crew is out.
The winner takes all.
So we should have had a raffle. Who knows how many
That's
song
right.
titles
Winner
are in
takes
that
all,
movie?
A cold air from a cold something. I can't remember. Anyway, but it is brilliant.
When you get the album and read it, you'll go, oh, I've seen every one of these movies.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Neil English. What unique quality or touch do you think Glenn Buxton, who we have talked about already, do you think he would have brought something totally different to it, or would he have slotted in just, I mean, I have a feeling he'd just be slotting in like, the old days, but adding his own magic. I mean, but did you ever think maybe Glenn could have added something to this, or not?
Absolutely. Glenn would have brought his own fire to it. But we did, I think, a really good job of, because the Spirit is always there for us,
Right.
We think of him daily. But the thing that would have, I think, been different is the way that Michael and Glenn worked together, because those guitar parts were always intertwined and so complementary to each other. So we did this album thinking of what Glenn would have done, but Glenn was full of surprises.
Like
That was it. We would, all of a sudden, we'd be doing the song, and I'd go, what was that? And they'd say, oh, that was something Glenn put in. I went, that is the weirdest thing I ever heard, but it works. But that was him.
Yeah.
He would bring these little giggy things in that would just like go.
Bob, you remember when we were over at the studio in England? Was it
Morgan. We were at Morgan.
Yeah. And Glenn and Bob used to have to prep Glenn. He had to tape everything that Glenn made sounds. It was like his bone hanging from his ear.
He had earrings, bracelets.
He was like a gypsy.
Every time he moved, it was like ching, 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 like this.
It's great.
He had a chicken leg hanging off of his necklace.
There's a question about $1 Billion Babies, which was the first Alice Cooper album I bought, which the lads have just signed. But Paul Noble, fan question, asked, during the making of $1 Billion Babies, which song was a nightmare to record most, if any were, and therefore presented the biggest challenge? I mean, there's a couple of big hits on it, like Hello, Hooray and Elected. But it all sounds effortless, but yet...
For me, it was Morgan Studios, because Harry Nilsson and Keith Moon kept showing up totally plastered. And they would fall, they'd knock things over, and I remember Neil and I thinking, we've got to keep the tempo down, because when those guys weren't there, we kept thinking they're going to barge in and ruin everything. So we had to keep the tempos down, because we were in a hurry to get done before those guys showed up. And the middle part of Unfinished Suite, where it has the wah fuzz pedal that I'm doing on bass, I remember just perspiring, because I was praying. I was thinking, I'm getting this take. And I'm perspiring, just looking over at the door and hoping those guys weren't going to barge in.
But it wasn't, it was Mark Bolan, Rick Gretsch, Harry Nilsson, Keith Moon.
Donovan Leitch.
And they all decided, Keith decided he was going to play piano.
Yeah, so
Harry Nilsson was going to play
we have
drums.
to set this up properly. We had just finished tracking, so that's when you're recording the whole band. We just finished, we were about to go into vocals. We broke down the session because they were playing on, was it Top of the Pops that you were doing?
Yeah.
So they were playing on Top of the Pops. They needed their gear. It all went out of the studio. And the thing about the BBC is that there's a bar. The good news is there's a bar. The bad news is there's a bar. And all of these people were there and decided they're coming back to the studio and they're going to record like the session of the century. And they all get into it's like a clown car. They get into one car, and they're drunk as skunks. On Ashley Pandell, your publicity guy, calls me at the studio and goes, Bob, the greatest band in the world is coming to the studio, and they want to record right now. So we had to get everything out of the cases, set the studio up, and get ready and be, nonchalantly just sort of sitting in our chair as they walked in. And the door bursts open, and this rabble comes rolling in, tripping over their tongues. They were so drunk they could hardly speak, and everybody goes to an instrument they don't play. It's the truth. And so this session proceeds. Harry Nilsson becomes the leader. Do you remember?
Yeah, Harry decided we were going to do a version of Put the Lime in the Coconuts. It ended up being so vile.
It was...
that I hope that...
It wasn't lime he wanted to put in the coconut.
No.
So the greatest recording sound, first of all, Keith Moon couldn't even stay on the drum stool, let alone keep a beat. And the recording sounds more like a bunch of drunks just trying to outgross each other.
It was frightening. And finally, it just became so embarrassing that I had to go out and ask everybody to leave. How do you do that? You've got a room full of massive rock stars. So just gently, I went over to each one of them, and Rick Gretsch was playing drums. I took the drumsticks out of his hands. He kept playing, and then looked and went, oh right, yeah. And I said, Rick, go to the bar. Go to the bar. Morgan also had a bar, so he went to the bar, and one at a time they all gently left. It was Harry who refused to leave. And Harry, God rest him. Now, I have to say, as I tell this story, we all love Harry Nilsson.
Original Hollywood vampire, by the way.
Original, an amazing guy. But when he got drunk, Harry could be difficult. Let's put it that way. So he just said, you're sure it's okay that I swear? So I said, Harry, that's it. Everybody's left. You're alone now. You have to go. And he goes, oh, I get it. Just because you deem it to be garbage, I have to stop creating. And I said, no. Just because it's our fucking nickel, you have to get out of our studio right now. So so he did leave, and then as we were doing vocals and stuff, he kept showing up. Yeah. Remember? He kept coming, he kept crashing the session and telling Alice what to do. It was amazing.
But he was crashing a lot of other people's sessions at the same time. He turned up on almost everyone's albums, I seem to remember.
Well, I thought we drank, but we didn't drink anywhere near these guys. I mean,
Well, even when we lived in Hollywood, we'd go to a lot of parties, and Harry was always on the floor, behind a couch. It was always horizontal. Matter of fact, that studio was the only time I ever saw him vertical for a little while.
But he couldn't walk a straight line. He could barely make it over to the piano, but he'd sit down and this angelic voice would come out.
Yeah, great singer.
The words, though, you can't repeat right now. So first of all, look at this room here. I'm thinking 52 years ago, would we have thought that we'd be in a church doing this?
Well, there's a question here from Sweden, from Eric Holmström from Sweden, and it's to Bob. And listening to you just now, I think it's a very apposite question. Eric says, when are you going to write your memoirs?
I thought I was right here. Right. You're all taking notes, right? I expect you to send them to me next week, please. That's a long story, and we'll talk about it later.
And talking about church, I mean, Alice, do you feel this is the sort of perfect building to get through to lots and lots of people? I mean, whatever the topic, be it religious or be it, as we are talking today, music, do you feel the building, a wonderful building like this, adds something to human contact without trying to sound too pretentious? Because I feel it's a great place to be, talking.
Yeah, this is actually this is really, really something in here. You know, I went back and started looking at lyrics from way back there, and almost all of them had a religious content. I grew up in a Christian, my dad was a pastor, my granddad was a pastor. I grew up in a Christian home, so that's what came out of me at the time. And I thought that was really interesting. Somebody mentioned that. They said, look at these songs, they're all biblical. And I didn't really realize that till later on. You know.
That's interesting.
Actually, we were on the road somewhere in the Midwest, and we got there early, and we couldn't check into a hotel because we hadn't got paid yet. So we were just bored, and this church had a wooden cross. It was three-dimensional box, and Alice starts carrying it around on the stage. You know, there's nothing happening. We're just sitting around. So I got a call from my mother, and she goes, I just talked to my sister, and she said Alice was creating sacrilege on stage. I said, no, it's just a bunch of long-haired guys bored, you know, and we're fooling around in this church. But she was like, she was just beyond, she was losing it. She was blown away.
There's a question from Robert Silverman, who simply wants to know, in Public Animal number 9's, who among you wrote the lyrics to Be My Lover? I'm especially curious because of the line, and I played guitar in a long-haired rock and roll band. You remember? You're the guilty man.
I think Mike wrote most of that.
That was actually kind of a true story. About Be My Lover. So we were flying, I think, to Los Angeles, and so we came on the plane, and there was an elderly lady sitting on my seat, and she turned to me and she said, "Are you boys an orchestra?" And I said, no, and it came up in the conversation, you really wouldn't understand, you know. And it was I met this girl on the plane, and it was like, it actually happened, you know. She walks into the room, she walked into the plane instead, you know, and we got to talking, and I said, so what are you doing after you get to Los Angeles? She says, I'm going to a funeral. Nice. And then David Liebert said, that I said, well, what are you doing after the funeral? So I guess I was desperate, you know.
Here's another question about some old hits from Todd Carey. I think Return of the Spiders on Easy Action is one of the earliest thrash metal songs ever. Would you ever consider re-recording any tracks from the first two albums with Bob at the helm?
It's on. Yeah. It's an extra cut.
We did. It's on. We did that, and we also did Titanic Overture. We found, actually, I hate it when this happens, but a really lovely young man located the original multi-tracks for that, shared them with us. Alice and I went in the studio. And we added a vocal to Titanic Overture because it was originally just an instrumental, and it was only one go-around long. So we made it 2 go-arounds long, and Alice wrote a story for it, and we gave voice to the Titanic. And then with thank you, with Return of the Spiders, what we did was we just tightened it up a little bit. I mean, these were the original performances, but the recording was kind of strange, and you didn't really, for my money, hear the instruments that clearly. And with AI, if I may say, we were able to isolate elements that were all mixed together in the original recording, and we could bring the drums out, and we could bring the bass out, and then we just tightened the song up a little bit. So it is the original performance, but it's the original performance made a little bit more sonically pleasing.
Was that done with Zappa? Was that when we were recording Pretties for You? Did we play that?
No, I think that was
no, that was Easy Action.
Oh, okay.
But I don't remember doing it with a straight beat. But the original song came about when we would play in LA, the Pretties for You era, where as soon as we would walk out on stage before we even started playing, people would start yelling insults and lining up at the exits, except the GTOs would be
Yeah.
front and center screaming.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I'm going to write a song. Stop, look, and listen, to get people to
Yeah.
to rethink leaving.
Yeah. That song was really
If we redid that song the way the version that we did on that album,
Right.
I would have to do a lot of practicing to keep up that tempo on that bass part.
Alice, so many of your shows have been very theatrical, obviously. Have you ever thought maybe I should go Broadway-wise, and
if anybody ever said, you should write a Broadway play, I say, it's written. It's called Welcome to My Nightmare.
Yeah.
That was a Broadway play. That was basically, we designed it as a Broadway play without watering it down. It was hard rock all the way through, and then we just put everything we could throw into the pot in there, and it worked. But it was a Broadway play.
How much did you depend, if at all, on any directors for some of your very theatrical rock shows that I've seen over the years?
Well, basically we learned how to do it from Nightmare, but the director on that was from West Side Story. I mean, he was the choreographer. That's how I met my wife, Cheryl. She auditioned for the show. By the way, our wives are here. We should probably... Could they please stand up? There they are. We would all be gone a long time ago if it weren't for them. We somehow got all the right wives.
And speaking of directors, we got Rob.
Yes, Rob Roth is here. Rob was directed one of our shows.
And directed some of your shows.
Rob Roth
He did. Well, I
also did a little thing called Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. And
Where's Rob? Rob,
where are you? There he is.
there he is, back there.
And has always helped us out, when it comes to when we're putting things together. I got an idea,
Well, that was how I got to know you, because Rob worked on Beauty and the Beast, which I was brought into in rather sad circumstances.
Yes.
Because the great Howard Ashman, who wrote the lyrics for the movie of Beauty and the Beast with Alan Menken's music, he was a great lyricist, and tragically he died before the show. And the show needed extra new songs, and I got the gig to work with Alan, and then, of course, with Rob. And Rob said, among other things, he's been working with you. And I thought, and it was interesting because I'd been in the musical world almost exclusively, and I love rock and roll and heavy rock and everything. And it intrigued me enormously that he'd worked with the Alice Cooper Band and with you.
Yes.
And so I went to see a couple of shows, and I thought, yes, this is extremely theatrical. It's great stuff. And this is not just Welcome to My Nightmare. It was regular shows with great songs. I mean, you doing Schools Out is as great as any big diva doing something from West Side Story. It's fantastic. And all the shows that I've seen of yours over the years have provided visual things just as much as great music. And it works.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, that's coming from a guy who's written everything you've ever heard.
No.
The list goes on and on and on and on, and it's really kind of a big compliment that he's here working with us, today. So it's I'm glad you're a fan.
So, in the early days, we were self-directed. The band would have these meetings to decide how we were going to kill Alice next.
A guillotine or whatever it was. Great stuff. And if you have a band decision to make, and there are only 4 of you, well, I suppose Bob would be 5, so you aren't going to get a tie, I hope. But is it something that you all have to agree with on any decision, be it musical or even visual? Or is it something that if 3 go for it and 2 don't, you'll all go for it? Are you a democracy, is what I'm saying?
I think we always pretty much agree on everything once it's solidified. Otherwise, because it has to be fun for us, has to be exciting, and that's what's kept the spark alive for so many, and we'll continue to do so.
And some of these songs, it depended on what drug you were on the day before, you know. Because, you know, we'd write a song and we'd all go, yeah, this is so good. The next day you listen and go, whew, what was that? You know.
Sometimes I think, you know, we're involved in every part of every song. And sometimes I think it's whoever can debate the loudest.
Right. And how often do you feel that is there ever a time when one of you thinks, I'm not quite sure that my part is right or whatever? Is it? I mean, do the team rally round something if it goes wrong? You obviously are a great team.
Well, that was Bob. You know, Bob would come in and we would play it. It sounded okay to us. There might have been something somewhere in there that's not right, and Bob would go, it's because that bridge does not set up the chorus, and the chorus is not paying off. And that would be something we go, oh yeah, you're right. It's not.
Like on What a Sid. So we were discussing what song should we do next, and then What a Sid came up, and then Bob said, but there's something a little fishy on the chorus. And I said, yes, because the first time I played that song for you, we decided that you had to help me fix that, whatever was wrong.
Right.
And you came right in the studio, ironed it out, we recorded it.
Yeah.
And also another perfect example of that is our first hit song, I'm 18, which was an 8-minute song we played live on stage. And when Bob worked with us, whittled it down to a 3-minute hit version. So that was what was missing in the band, and that's still to this day. That's the chemistry and the camaraderie that Bob brings to the table with all of us. And I think that's it's undeniable. We all write songs, but he has the magic of hearing it a little bit differently, just like Alice just said, and hearing it in a way that it will all really work together. And that's just something, that's what we were looking for. After Easy Action Produced for You, that's exactly what we were looking for. And we wanted our, you know, George Martin.
What we just kept saying, we kept playing it, and he kept saying, dumb it down. And we go, no, we got this guitar part. He's going, no. What's the song about? It's about a kid that's 18. He's a boy, he's a man, he's confused, he's this. It's got to be just basic. In fact, it even goes, dum, 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 dum. And
it's a lot of dumb.
It got so basic that it was powerful then. It was all the stuff that we wanted to put in it, made it weak. The powerful was just in that. It couldn't get away from it. And that's when we really learned, okay, the simplicity is really what's powerful.
And
before he got a hold of it, the intro was longer than the song wound up being.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, well, we got to get rid of the intro. But we like the intro.
That's the song that, Alice, you did. He brought the lyrics in, and we all listened and we liked it, but we were encouraging him to do it again. And so he came back with another set of lyrics, and wow, this is getting good, you know. And then one more, Allison, and he came back with what you hear now on the record, and we all went, that's it. You know, we all were right behind
it. It actually began as a riff that Michael had that we would play when we were doing a warm-up or a sound check or something, just to test the instruments. And then we got these ideas where each guy, like, we would just be playing the riff over and over, and then I would get some funny idea about a high school kid, and I'd sing a verse, and then somebody else would sing, and it was very loose and it'd go on for 15 minutes maybe. But then when we talked to somebody at Warner Brothers Records, who's the biggest record buyer in the world, an 18-year-old, because they're still living at home and they've got a job. So we said, oh, wait a minute, so it all focused, and then Alice started going in that direction, and Rosalie Trombley, Canadian, WCKLW, in Windsor, Canada, the girl with the golden ear.
Just CK, just CK, Canadian, CKLW.
CKLW in Windsor, Canada.
Windsor, yep.
And I got to have a drink with her one night in Arizona many years after that she made that a hit. And I asked her, I said, so what made you think that was a hit? And she said, the lyrics. The first verse alone, I already knew it was a hit.
And that was your first big single.
He kept saying, oh, do that edgy song.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, edgy?
So, yeah,
what is
okay.
edgy? He goes,
Okay, in my defense.
Is that a true story?
In my defense, yes. It's a totally true story. So I got sent by my boss to New York to see the band play at Max's Kansas City. They wanted my boss. They didn't want me. They'd never met me before. And they wanted my boss, who produced the Guess Who at that time had a song called American Woman, which was #1 in the world. And it's been, covered many times since then. And they had, Shep had a little meeting with my boss, Jack. And Jack, being Canadian, as we are, very polite man, didn't say no, because we don't say no. We say things like, I see, that's really interesting. Well, we'll discuss that. So, and Shep walked out of the meeting thinking he had a deal, and Jack turned to me and said, get rid of them. And so Jack had promised that I would go see the band, and if I liked the band, then he would go see the band, and if he liked the band, then maybe he would do it, and so on. Anyway, I got sent down to New York to a midnight show at Max's Kansas City. And I was just telling your friend this story a few minutes ago. So I go to Max's Kansas City at midnight. I follow the laser beams down Houston and into the club and walk into basically, a vision of hell. Everybody in there had spider eyes and spandex. They all had, ghostly white faces, jet black hair and jet black lipstick and finger. I'd never seen anything like it. I was a hippie from Canada. They do the show, they come out, they've got sets and props and lights, and everybody in the joint knew all the words to all these songs, including songs that had never been released. And the show was just, it blew me away. And so I went running up the stairs after they were finished, and I burst into their dressing room and I went, we'll do it! We'll do it, because I think you guys can make hit records. And I'd only been working for the company for a few months. I didn't know what a hit record was. I wouldn't have known one if it had jumped up and bit me. But I said, I think you guys can make hit records. And they go, well, we think you guys can too, man. And I said, well, I love you guys. They said, well, we love you, man, and I love you, and we all love each other. And I went out in the street and realized that I was so fired, and then had to go back to Toronto and basically beg Jack to understand. And I just said, this is not rock and roll. There were T-shirts, there were no jeans, they had sets, they had lights, they had props, they had all this. And I said, people had spider eyes and spandex, they knew all the words to all the songs. This is the beginning of a cultural movement, Jack. And he goes, all right, enough. If you like it so much, you do it. My memory of the night, because it was very loud, was they had this really cool song called I'm edgy, and I don't know what I want. I'm edgy. So when I get to Pontiac, Michigan, to do pre-production, first question, where's Jack? He's coming. Jack's coming. Yes, he'll be here anytime. Okay, so now, but let's start working. So the first thing I said was, can we work on that song, I'm Edgy? And they all looked at each other like, what? And I said, that song, I'm Edgy. And that was my first win. Yeah.
The funny thing was after he left the show at Max's Kansas City, we all looked at each other and went, who was that?
Yeah. So I remember, Bob, we called him the Boy Wonder, and we weren't the only ones, the Boy Wonder, because he looked younger than he was. And when he was at Max's Kansas City, hey, I'm going to get you guys a record deal. We're like, Glenn is like, right, kid, I'd buy you a drink, but you're too young. As if Glenn didn't do illegal things.
So what's coming up next, guys? I mean, dates, and will you do another album, do you think, in a year's time? Have you thought about that?
We're just going to let AI do it for us, actually. We're all going to sit home, smoke cigars, and...
Do you have any lyrics kicking around?
Yeah.
You could come up with something, I'm sure.
Right, I'll try. But what are your next live performances?
You know, I don't know if you're going to be there tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen, you know. I mean, an Alice Cooper show. Yeah.
And do you think after this wonderful experience with this album that you might down the road in a year or so maybe do another one? You must have got inspired, I would have thought, by some of the ideas that have burst out from this record. I would think there's another.
Well, you know, somebody.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, yes. I mean, why wouldn't we? You know, this was so much fun and it was so good that I can't imagine that we would just stop.
Yeah.
You want us to
Somebody
stop?
mentioned, they said, well, when a one-off project like this, I said, whoa. I said, what do you mean a one-off project?
Yeah.
Who says this is a one-off project? You know.
We're having a really good time. We're really enjoying the process. We've really enjoyed everybody's reception to the record. By the way, you just heard it. What did you think? Cool. So, as in all things, we'll let the audience decide, should we do it again? There you go.
The curse of Alice Cooper.
Well, I think that's fantastic. Do we have time for one or two questions from the floor, or is Toby around? Gentleman in the front. Any what, sorry?
Oh, any thoughts on Ozzy?
Oh, right.
Oh, man. You know, Ozzy was like us. He's a lifer. You know, we call certain people in this business lifers. People that are going to do it till they can't do it anymore. Pete Townsend, the Beatles, the Stones. Those guys are still going because they're lifers. It's not financial. It's because it's what we love doing. Bob Dylan still does 150 shows a year. You think it's for money? I don't think so. You know, it's the same with the Stones or McCartney, any of those guys. We got into this thing in high school with the attitude that we were going to do this till we couldn't do it anymore. Ozzy finally came to the end of that, and he was a lifer. He would have gone on as long as he could go, and you've got to give him all the credit in the world. He was physically in not good shape, and he still did it. And so, I mean, nothing but respect. So I said, and somebody asked me about it, and I said, well, a giant boulder has crashed, but rock will roll on. You know.
Anyone else who would like to? There's a lot here. Next one, gentleman here.
Yeah, thank you. What do you hope that younger fans that only get to learn Alice Cooper from, say, Poison or Hey Stupid will take, that haven't heard the old band and the old songs, will take from the new album?
Okay, what was that? Sorry.
What do you think younger fans who may have come into this career at Poison or after all that, that hadn't heard the original stuff,
We're more punk than they are.
what do you think they will think of this new album, is what he was saying?
Well, you know, I mean, it's hard rock. What is the one music that has sustained through all kinds of changes in rock? It's gone to punk, it's gone to grunge, it's gone to disco, it's gone to this and that. The one music that goes right straight through is guitar-driven hard rock. It's
So also that fan that came in on Poison is pretty much on the same maturity level as we are.
Well, it's just true. When you look at Aerosmith, the Stones, Guns N' Roses now, bands like that, Alice, we're hard rock bands. The Stones are doing it because they love doing it. There's no other reason that, you know, and it's not, you can't get away from it. You're addicted to it. You know, I'll do this till I can't do it anymore. Same with these guys.
And as for the younger fans, I'm always hopeful for the future, and I like everybody else hates the term, rock is dead. And believe me, we hate that term. And in the United States, it's, there are musics right now that are more popular. So when we get, with social media right now, we hear from people all over the world. And since the album was announced, that there was a fan that had written me an email and said that I just can't believe in my whole life that I would ever be able to go buy a brand new Alice Cooper album. And I'm 15 years old. It was great.
That's funny.
Of course, the gateway to younger fans that we do see all the time is School's Out.
Yeah, that's the anthem.
There's one more. We've got time for one more. There was somebody over here. I can't.
Special relation to this country, guys. School's Out, for example, 172, the biggest selling single in Woodrock's history. The following year, Billy Got Back was #1, straight into #1. What have you got that makes us want to love you? Because we love you to death.
What have you got that makes people love you? That makes you want to love me?
Well, I mean, look at us. We're not decrepit yet.
What's not to love, baby?
Well, I guess that's probably, we've learned an awful lot about Alice Cooper, some of which we didn't know before, a lot of which we did know before, being fans. And I can say, having played the new album a couple of times, that I'm sure many of you have, that it's just as if time, in one sense it sounds rude, but it's not, it's a compliment. In a way, time hasn't changed when you hear that album. It's the same magic's there, the same power, the same emotion. And it doesn't matter that it's 2025. It's music for 2025 because the music in 1975 was so good.
Yeah.
And it survived. And I personally would love to thank you guys, Bob and the band, for everything you've done. I've loved what you've done over the years. And I've laughed. And sometimes I've felt sad at some of the songs, Only Women Bleed, things like that. Great songs. But there's a great sense of humor. You've got to have at least 20% fun coming out of every record. And that does with you lot. So well done.
Thank you. Well, not only are we in a church, but we have a knight of the realm interviewing us.
Who'da thunk it? Okay. Is that it?
Thank you, guys.
Is that the end? Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. We're back, baby.